Do we need to do some cheers, guys?
How's my audio now?
Sounds good to me.
Everyone put their hands up. We're going to do a cheer to get us going. Where are we headed? Top of the mountain. How are we going to get there? Can't remember. Trust falls. We used to do that when I worked at Walmart Distribution Center every morning. Where are we headed? Top of the mountain. Okay, we excited now? We're good?
I'm excited.
Okay.
Can't breathe.
How's your addiction coming, Eric? We're actually setting you up. This is an intervention.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we're live. Dude, yesterday morning was the morning that I was like, I got to get off this crap because I had been reading about it. You know, everyone said like, oh, you're only supposed to use it 3 days, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, my body is definitely dependent on it. And it makes perfect sense. You want quick relief and it's literally instant. You can't breathe and then you can just breathe. So it's like, wouldn't anybody want that, you know?
Yeah.
So yesterday was like the rebound. Like while I was texting you guys, dude, I tried to do a video of that 5 Point elk sheds, like talking about them, and I could not speak. Like even just swallowing a glass, like a drink of water was like swallow it and then gasp for air. You don't realize how much flowing is going on your nose when you're not thinking about it. But it's better now. Like today's way better than yesterday.
Yeah, I remember Kaylee telling me about she had an aunt that she said she was always addicted to like nasal spray. And I was like, how do you get addicted to nasal spray? Like, why? You just want to breathe.
Yeah, that's it. You just want instant relief. And the more you use it, the shorter the relief is, right? So it starts out with like, oh yeah, this will really help me sleep better tonight. And then a couple of days of that, you're like, oh, I could probably use it in the morning right when I wake up too. And then you're using it at lunch. And then you're buying them while I'm out hiking. I got one in my hip pocket. Like, I was like, dude, I'm that guy. Like, I'm in my house and I see 2 on the counter, one's in my truck, my bathroom. I was like, no, dude, I ain't down with this anymore.
Just a slow spiral.
It was. I was like, I gotta stop.
All right, let's start this thing.
So best season yet, 3.0, fellas. What? 68 videos, Logie Bear.
Had some help. But yeah, another wrap. I mean, we never ran into anything too bad, knock on wood. Every year it seems that we make it through pretty good, which is good for us, good for you viewers. And we love bringing you guys a streamlined series of videos. And I think everybody all around the team did good this year.
Casey, what are your initial thoughts on 3.0?
Oh, it was a fun one, man. I mean, every season's fun. Every season there's something new comes along. I mean, for me anymore, it's about getting my kids out, getting them excited. They had some great tags this year. Probably one of the best years my kids have had. You know, Braley had her moose tag, which was awesome. Gage killed his first elk, killed his first antelope. It was good, man. We have a freezer full of meat, thanks to those guys. But yeah, it was best season yet so far.
EC, what about you, buddy? What do you think of 3.0 as a whole?
Man, this year with COVID and restrictions and kind of that mental game being a little off, I would honestly, like, I had a great season and I got some awesome animals and spent some time with some great people. But for me, walking away from best season yet was like, that's probably the first year I can walk away from the season and be like, I didn't give it my all. I didn't pursue every tag as hard as I had in the years past. And I didn't take every ounce of effort into every hunt. You know, still had a great season, still made some good memories. But yeah, that was the first year I was like, all right, your mental attitude in just life in general has such an impact, even when you're out in the woods. And this year with 2020 just being a crazy year, it definitely caught up to me. I mean, it started out with shed season where I was like, this is awesome. I just get to go shed hunting more. And it finally kind of caught up to me like, you know, you're less social. I'm here in this house alone all the time. And yeah, the hunting season I could have put a lot more effort into it, but I just wasn't there. Not 100% this year.
That's interesting to hear that.
Yeah. When I drove off of the mountain in Idaho and I was like, dude, I threw in the towel, like straight up asked myself, like, am I having fun? You know, how's the hunt looking? And I was just like, no, I'm ready to go home, even with a few days left. And I called you and you were like, dude, you're gross.
That's the first time. Yeah. It's the first time I've ever seen you do that. But So what you're saying is like, you know, just with everything that's went on, you know, starting last March, right when everything really started happening, it just was mentally taxing on you for the whole season. It caused you maybe not to hunt as hard as you would have.
Oh, for sure. You know, and it's like I said, it started out as in like no big deal, but you know, for some reason, everything that was going on in the political world and the country and the world in general it just started catching up to me with being frustrated. I had to wear a mask when I just wanted to work out, or just everything started eating away at me a little bit. And it just, by the end of the hunts and stuff, it really caught up to me. Be kind of, I don't know, just worn out mentally, you know?
I can agree to that, man. It's a tough year for everyone, man. I know I had a hard time getting away just because when you have 4 kids that typically 3 of them are at school Monday through Friday, that allows my wife to get a lot of stuff done. But when, you know, now all my kids were at home most of the year, it was tough on her. And so if I was to leave, you know, she never got a break. It was just a tough year to be an American, really.
Yeah. And now that I'm sifting through a lot of the feedback from the viewers and asking questions, a lot of people brought that up. Like, how did you guys push through the travel restrictions? How did it affect your hunts? And, you know, it definitely did for anybody watching who just sees the videos and it's like, oh, they made it to New Mexico. Oh, they made it to Alaska. Like, there was a lot of stuff maybe we didn't share behind the scenes that just we had to do to get out to some of these hunts. That just kind of puts the pedal on the brake a little bit more, and maybe even sometimes kept us from going on hunts that we were planning on going. And so, yeah, it definitely affected all of us. It may not show in all the videos, but it did.
Yeah, I saw that question come up, like, how did it affect our travel? I'll tell you this, since last March, so we got home from our Stillhead trip, our annual Stillhead trip in Oregon last March sometime.
On the 12th.
On the 12th. And I remember sitting in the airport watching the news with Logan, and I was like, what's going on? Like, what is this they're talking about? Anyway, like, it was almost like the day after we got home is when everything kind of like started shutting down.
Yeah, it was legitimately like maybe 2 or 3 days later when the NBA, to me, the NBA is what like
sparked
got the ball rolling, right? Like when the game got canceled and then it was just a domino effect, like all of a sudden immediately life changed. And we were like legitimately just in Oregon, having so much fun, got home, and then, man, we're living in a different world, and we are still in it here almost a year later.
Well, yeah. So for me anyways, the biggest thing is like we do a lot of traveling through the season. If it's, you know, during the hunting season, if it's off season, like we're typically, how many trips do you think we take on an airplane a year? 10, maybe 12?
Yeah, something like
that.
that.
At least.
Yeah.
Since I've got home from Oregon, I've been on a plane twice this whole year, which actually I love. I hate flying, so it's been great for me. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. The other takeaway I remember, like everything got serious in March and April, and I was like, oh, it's kind of cool, but home with the family for a while. And then me and Logan went to Wyoming to go do a bear hunt with the Weatherby guys. And that's when it really hit me that because I was a little nervous about like crossing state lines. I was like, what, is there going to be somebody there to like check on us? But dude, when we pulled into Wyoming on the freeway, there were those giant billboards, those electronic billboards that were saying basically like all non-residents have to quarantine themselves for like 14 days once entering the state. I was just like blown away. Like, what does this mean? We didn't do it. Can they write me a ticket for that now? Is that how they do it?
Well, I mean,
issue
so many
tickets?
things changed, right? Like there was a lot of states that stopped allowing non-residents to come and hunt it. I had a pretty sweet bear tag in Oregon that had taken a number of years to draw, and it was not available for me to come and hunt it, even though I had a limited entry tag. And then they eventually changed it. I think I had like 2 weeks left to go on that hunt, and I had the option to turn the tag back in or go. And I was like, forget it. Like, I'll just go. But there was a lot of variables throughout the spring. You know, people didn't know if the fall season would even happen. Obviously, those folks that were trying to get to Alaska or even Canada dealt with more challenges. And that was just kind of the theme of the year. I think, you know, for 3.0, in my opinion, the first 2 seasons, if you guys have ever followed along, like the first season, we did a lot more behind the scenes, kind of daily life. shared some interesting, stories that were pretty personal to all of us. And we got mixed feedback. Some people absolutely love that component. And then other people were like, let's just stick to the hunting stuff. I think 2.0, we tried to make some adjustments accordingly just to share more of the hunts. And I think with 3.0, we really focused on like the best of the best hunting content, even maybe peeling away more of, random stuff. With 2.0, we kind of showed how every hunt went. And sometimes it took some time. There were some slow periods. I felt like 3.0 kind of kept the momentum, and you can see that in the outcome. I mean, we went from 82 and 84 videos to 68 videos, really filming the same, time frame on the calendar, some of which was out of our control, right? We never know going into a hunt if it's going to last 1 day or 7 days. We had a lot of hunts this year that lasted maybe 1 to 3 days tops before tags were filled. And then, you've got a gap of 4 to 5 days, what you expected to be filming that you don't currently have any more content available. So that shortened it up a little bit, but I think the production quality was awesome. I think Martin Logan did a great job, telling the stories and putting all the videos together. But it was definitely an interesting year, comparatively speaking.
Yeah, we just it's not our fault if we just go into a hunt and we just kick so much butt that we only takes us a couple days, right? How many of those hunts did you have this year, Eric, where you had lined up a week to go hunt and it was done after 24 hours?
Well, the two that stick out the most are my rifle elk hunts, one in Utah, general season, and then the New Mexico hunt. They both ended on opening day somehow. And that's one of the questions I see is people want to know, like, what are your most memorable hunts or favorite hunts? And for me, the ones that stick out the most are usually the ones you have like the lowest expectations, and you kind of hit like you're basically like, dude, this is impossible. I mean, that's how I felt on the general season rifle elk hunt. If anybody's been out to Utah, those are typically on units that don't have a lot of elk and have a lot of pressure. So I explored that unit for like a day and a half with Martin. I think we gave it like some scouting and stuff and never laid eyes on an elk. But before the hunt, we heard the one bugle, and then opening morning, didn't see any elk, heard a couple gunshots, saw some hunters, and by like 9:30, 10, we're back in camp eating breakfast burritos. And then a few hours later, we were on a nice bull. So for anybody who's curious, like what my favorite hunt was, is probably that one, just because I got to the point of like, dude, how does anyone get an elk in this situation, to shooting a great bull just moments later, and really putting all the strategy and idea in place to make that happen. So yeah, that was my favorite hunt. I was curious to all you guys, like, what are your favorite hunts of this year?
I think for me, I mean, Braley's moose hunt was fun. Going back to like the point, like, we filled tags pretty early this year, right? Like you go and planning to hunt 5 days and you kill an elk on the first day. For me, a lot of the times is, especially when I'm with my kids, I don't want it to happen too fast, which is like really weird to say. I want to enjoy that experience as much as I possibly can. And I want them to, especially with Braley, because she has such limited time that she can be out. So when I do have her out, I want her to be like, be able to enjoy the whole spectrum of having a moose tag. And, it happened pretty fast. We killed a bull within 4 or 5 days being out, right, Love? We'd hunted 4 or 5 days total, and she killed a bull, and she was super happy. I was stoked for her. But going back to it, like, I'm always going into a hunt, like, I don't want it to happen too fast, but I obviously don't want it to be this long, drug out 7-day grind, But a lot of times when it does happen that way, those are the most memorable hunts, for sure, when you work your tail off and go through a lot. But for me, I think my most memorable hunt this year was getting Gage out on his first elk hunt and getting to see him enjoy the thrills of elk hunting and listening to him bugle and watching him fight and all that. And so that was fun. It was a 2-day hunt, and but he got to experience a lot of the elk woods in those 2 days.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for me, it's total toss up. I mean, that elk hunt was awesome. Just seeing his face, actually getting in the rut action. We had that one day where we were looking over into that valley. And it was like, for me, it was honestly probably one of the biggest rut fests I've ever been a part of. Just hundreds of elk going at it in this pit of trees, like the war zone almost. And that was really cool to watch Gage get his first bull. I mean, it was the perfect blend of work and success. I don't think it was too much work to get that bull, and it definitely wasn't easy. It was like that perfect blend where there was that payoff, and I think he really appreciated that. And it's that hunt. And then obviously, Alaska, something new that we had to kind of just go in blind and figure it out. Luckily, we had some buddies with us that knew what they were doing, some good charters. But those two for me really stood out, like probably the best adventures I've had thus far in my life.
I would completely agree with Logan. It's a toss-up. You guys can probably see it if you watch our videos, but Gage is just an absolute phenomenal young person. And I really thoroughly enjoy spending time with him out in the woods. He's been on quite a few different hunts that we've been able to do over the years, but that was a great one. It was just, I was impressed, man. He's a preteen kid, right? So like we hiked him hard. The country was steep and aggressive, and it was on some private land with our buddy Matt, RNK, and obviously there's an advantage there. There's happened to be a lot of elk on that piece of property when we were there. In other years, that property is slow, just is very dependent. But the country and where he eventually got his elk at was not easy. I mean, and he never muttered 1 ounce of like doubt or complaint. He just kept trucking. He just got a great attitude. He's a very just caring and giving kid. And I don't know, I don't have a lot of experience around kids, but Gage is one of my faves. So for him to perform under pressure, he made an absolutely perfect shot in a chaotic situation after hiking up a pretty steep ridge. It wasn't an easy situation, but man, he just performed flawlessly. So love to see that. And then, yeah, no doubt Alaska was incredible. I've always wanted to get to Alaska. Until this trip, none of us have ever been to Alaska. So it was just filled with new things that, I just will always cherish. Super fun to experience some of the fishing. And then Kodiak I had no concept of how vast and wild that island really is. And frankly, like I really love to get back there as many times as possible. I mean, I think there's no doubt Eric and Casey would love it. So much fun. So those are my two main highlights, but it's tough, man. It's hard to pick favorites just because I genuinely love going on every hunt, whether I have the tag or I'm just helping out. Like I love being outside and spending time with good people. So overall it's good. I did notice one question said that, do you guys ever develop tension amongst the group, spending as many days together out in the field? You ever have those moments where things get heated? And honestly, truthfully, not really. We really don't, man. We don't have that within our business. I think all of our personalities are very different, but we complement each other. And we actually were talking about that last week. Like we genuinely don't have that stuff ever come up. In all the years, I don't think we've ever yelled at each other or like gotten like super fired up. There might be times when you need some space or whatever, but truthfully, no, like it's.
Yeah, but even think like when was even that, like it really doesn't. What does Casey got? Let's hear from Casey.
Brian gets mad when you like forget your tag and stuff like that. He doesn't yell, he just shames you though. No, it's true, man. Like you see a lot of other people. I mean, this goes back to like when we first started working together. And the very first movie premiere or second movie premiere we ever did, the Hushlife movie. Is that the one we went to New Mexico?
Yeah.
Like me and Eric had spent some time with each other, done a few hunts, but not a ton. And, Brian was with us for the first 3 days, but we were together for, I don't know 15 days, 16 days.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing I thought when I got home is like, there's very few people in the world that I could spend like 16 days with that closely and not like at some point get frustrated with them or, get upset with them. And that never happened. And then from that day, I was like, man, me and Eric just get along. And that goes with everybody. We spend a lot of time together in close situations, going through the grind, whatever it might be. And yeah, there's very few times that we've ever had any issues, which is great.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to look back now because it has been a long time now, like multiple seasons without headaches like that. Or I don't know, I guess all of us are pretty chill, you know?
I think we're all very deflective too. Like, we don't have to be the guy that has the idea. We don't have to be the guy that, we're doing this today. We're all just kind of like go with the flow. And I think that's what's helped us create what we've been able to create in such a short amount of time.
There's no doubt that you have, I think the hunting industry as a whole, you definitely have a type A personalities, alphas typically. And to Casey's point, you can't have 4 alphas trying to hunt together all the time because you're going to constantly battle with like, whose idea is it, or where are we going? Or like, no, I don't want to go there. We should go here. And I think there's times when, you may want to speak up and say, we usually just defer to, whoever has that opinion that thinks it's going to be great. And okay, let's go try it. And if it doesn't work out, like, okay, we'll try something different. But it's so much easier to just kind of roll with it than to, truthfully battle it out on the hillside, trying to figure out who has the better idea. So I think being even keeled is certainly
that's
a quality that we all possess.
Yeah, and that's probably why we get a lot of comments that we're reading through the replies and questions is about us hunting together more. And people want to see that. They say they enjoy the camaraderie of when we're out together a lot.
For sure.
And I agree with the audience. Like, we definitely want to do a lot more of that. And for those who are curious about next year, is that's one idea is that we do get together and hunt more often together as a group. But even when we do that, like BMAC said, it's, I typically have an idea of where I want to go or how I want to hunt, and we'll just split up. And I think it's fun that way. It's kind of like looking back at the Colorado semi-live series we've done over the years. We'll all just play our cards however we want and go document that and then kind of mingle them all together. And that's what's cool is people get to see like our different ideas. Like, I wanted to go up this canyon and, maybe BMAC thought it'd be better to check this little piece, but that's what makes it fun. But yeah, that's one thing we do want to do maybe next year is plan some more hunts where we are together more often for you guys. Not just for you guys, but we enjoy those hunts too, but especially this year with the COVID and just being an off year, I think people saw that we were separated more often maybe this year than any other year. And yeah, we kind of like to maybe bring it back in 2021, maybe the reunion or whatever, the boy band gets back together and we go do some of our favorite hunts all together.
Of all the analogies that you could have come up with, boy band is what came to mind.
Well, I heard that in the meeting the other day, and I think that was from
dancing, singing. That's us. A lot of people have brought that up over the years, like, why don't we hunt more together? And the majority of the reason why is because we're trying to create more content. Like, there's the only reason we were able to do 84 videos last year or 2 years ago was because we had to split, divide and conquer. But we definitely have something in the works this year. This was going to be 10 years, right, of the Hush channel being on YouTube. So we have an idea of something, a project we're going to do, and it's going to involve us being together a lot more next year or this year.
10 years, Case. You started it. So just to clarify, like the three of us, and Logan's kind of been mixed in from the beginning as a brother and just like grandfathered into the brand. But the three of us started working together in about 2015 was the first true, like spring of 2015, kind of when things came together. But Casey had started the channel off, like thought of the idea in 2011, built the channel, launched the channel, and then started getting actual content put on in a couple years later, like 2013 is when you really started putting it up. The OG logo.
OG. Yeah, I can honestly say this is the longest full-time job I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. But 10 years, I would have never guessed this is where we'd be at, from an idea of wanting to create hunting content to bringing, you two on and just seeing like what we've been able to do together has been pretty awesome.
Yeah,
very fortunate.
Pretty wild.
For anybody who hasn't looked back on some of the first years Casey did this channel, I would recommend anybody to go back and and just kind of do it. I mean, there's so much to learn. A lot of people ask, like, how did you guys get to here? And it's not that it's ever told like in one video, but if you actually go back through the video library and just scroll to the bottom and just start surfing some of that stuff, those early elk hunts.
You can filter. You can filter easily on YouTube with oldest videos to newest, right? Like it usually defaults newest to oldest, but you can go in there and it's pretty hilarious to see some of the old videos.
It's pretty cringeworthy, some of the first videos that I thought would do well compared to where we're at now. But yeah, it's fun to see where it came from. Like, you know, obviously I watched a lot of outdoor TV growing up, and that's where I thought this was going to go, and luckily it didn't.
Well,
but yeah,
it's so funny to me because when I was tagging along with you back in like 2011, 2012, we were putting videos together or whatever. And then I kind of left and you were doing your own thing and then came back on in 2018. I was like, holy cow, this is a whole new program. You got your ducks in a row. we got people that know that what we're doing.
Yeah. And it was funny. There was a transition phase where all of a sudden the Hushin' with Revere channel went to Hushin'. And then this guy, Eric, pops up in videos. And I remember reading comments, like, who is this guy? Like, what's going on here? Where's Casey?
Yeah. I remember that was the thought when you came on, was like, how are people going to perceive you? Or like, what are they going to think? And my first initial thought was like, I'm going to introduce them, then I'm just going to kind of let them run it. And that was funny because, you know, when you came on, that the big reason was because I didn't have a lot of time to create more content. That's what the channel needed, was more content. So when Eric came on, I was just like, dude, just do your thing, man. You've been doing this for years. You know how to do it. So he would do a video and he'd call me and be like, oh, I got it cut. Like, what do you think? I'm like, finally, like after a couple of weeks, I'm like, dude, run this thing like you stole it. And that's what Eric did, dude. He just started crushing content, and everything kind of started falling into place after that. And Brian was doing the behind the scenes business stuff. And then, I came to a point where it was like, let's all do this full time, that we can obviously do it full time. And then we brought Logie Bear on. And so, I mean, I think we should bring this up. Martin came on last year, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, 2019. He came on and Martin crushed it. We absolutely love Martin. He decided it was time for him to go, and he's going to go try to do his own thing. And we wish him nothing but the very best, but Martin is no longer with us. But yeah, so anyway, just to keep you guys up to date, that's kind of where we're at. And we're looking for new camera guys. You want a job? Reach out to Brian.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's a good thing to bring up. Martin did fantastic. He really was a huge value add to the team. Enjoyed the heck out of him. We are still friends today. We will support him in all ways possible, and looking forward to seeing what he's able to do on his own. But certainly for the coming season, we will be bringing on a new individual. We have a couple names in the hat we're looking at, but see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I'll touch on that too. I just want to say thanks to Martin if he ever sees this, but I want all the viewers to know that, like, we're going to miss him. And it seemed like a lot of the viewers were getting to know Martin, and that's kind of what we wanted. We wanted everyone to know everyone on this team, or whatever you want to call us, that we're all here to, you know, make a bunch of good content and entertain people. And Martin did a really good job with that. And I'm already missing the kid coming into shed season. It was so fun to shed hunt with him. I mean, it was fun to do everything, but shed hunting was kind of our thing where we really love that together. So going into it, it's like, how do you find someone that you want to travel with, 12-hour road trips with, sleep in a tent with, hike with, hunt with, talk with? And we haven't nailed down that person yet, but like B-Mac and Casey said, we're looking to bring on another guy this year. So maybe that's someone watching.
Well, that's going back to what we were just talking about previous. Like, it's hard to find a guy that is going to be like us and not want to be contentious and not want to do everything his way. And luckily, you know, Logan's not that guy. Martin wasn't that guy. And so we're looking for the next one that's going to fit in with the crew, and it's going to work hard. But we got some people in mind that I think are going to do a really good job. So look forward to bringing them on.
So another interesting thing to talk about. Let's talk about some things that maybe didn't pan out, some hunts that didn't end up with a punch tag through whatever various reasons. To me, the first one that really comes to mind is our first hunt of the year up on the high country, chasing that old Wiley 4-point that just was always a step ahead of us. Thinking through that in those opportunities that we had as a group, what do you think we could have done differently to get it like an actual shot on the deer?
Rifle. Should have used a rifle. I don't know, man. You look at that deer, like we hunted him pretty darn hard for 5-6 days, and he was pretty consistent. Like there was a couple days we couldn't turn him up, but we knew he was there somewhere. I just look at that deer and just be like, like what could we have done better? And I think sometimes it just comes down to like you could do all you can do and put yourself in the right position. But let's be honest, like sometimes luck is involved. Like the day I got in there with, I was 35, 45 yards from him. All he had to do was do what he did like the 2 previous days, and I would have got a shot. Same with Eric. Like Eric was in this position 2 or 3 times where all he would have had to do is what he was supposed to do, what we had seen him do, and he just didn't do it.
Yeah, that deer, he was just living on a ridge that like everything worked to his favor and not ours. I mean, everything from wind and thermals going up and down to just being in like the brush and the baby aspens and like just situations where you just can't get a shot. Like you can be 30 yards, there's just no way you're going to get a shot. So what we could have done better is just keep applying more pressure. I mean, again, going back, like even looking at that hunt, I gave it some good efforts even after we all left and I started hunting evenings every evening in a row. But yeah, it could have just been more pressure. Like sometimes it could have taken just going out more, trying more, putting numbers in your favor, but also playing it smart, because there's sometimes where he's over there and he's not killable. And maybe those times we need to step back and just kind of let him get more comfortable instead of more spooks, Yeah. So I don't know what we could have done different, but this year I would like to try it again. That deer could come back. To my knowledge, I think he made it through the season. So if he comes back, I think I might want to try some tree saddles stuff, where you can kind of be mobile and put more time in scouting and to try to figure out what he's really doing, because we knew where he'd end up, but we didn't know why.
Yeah.
There's a couple times where maybe like some soft bumps, some soft pushes actually could have worked in our favor. But again, they always seem to like go the direction that you don't want them to go. But yeah, I don't know, man. He's just living. It's just a lot of work physically. Even to get to where you can see the deer is a lot of work physically, and it just wears you out going up there, over and over.
It didn't help either because it was so dry that year that, I mean, just trying to get into 30 or 40 yards was a super big accomplishment based upon how crunchy every single step was. Even in socks, it was not easy. And yeah, he definitely was in a tough spot. And I agree. I don't think there's a whole lot we could have done differently where we were able to see him,
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, if we could have turned up a different area that was more advantageous to putting a stock on and having some shooting lanes, that would have been great. But aside from where we could see him consistently, he kind of disappeared into the abyss.
Yeah.
Don't really know where he went or why he did it.
Yeah, we basically had a ridge he was on, but in between us and that ridge, which is really the best place to see him, there's a ridge in between that's cutting off half of the ridge. So we would see him when he was on the upper third of the whole canyon. And that's where, we had that one bed where Casey got in close. We had a couple of his other favorite beds, but he would show up there, but I still don't know why or like where he came from to get to there. So there's a lot of ground that we just need to study more and maybe, use trail cameras to help us learn exactly what he's doing. Cause over there we have no cameras. There's not one lick of bait, salt, nothing. He's just living on his own, doing his thing. And to figure out, maybe to learn a little more about his pattern is maybe trail cameras, But yeah, fun deer to hunt. That's 2 years in a row. We've seen him right there on that same spot. And I'm kind of leaning towards putting in for that same unit. As much as I'm so sick of deer camp, guys, like anyone who's watched over the years, deer camp, high country deer camp, it's gone downhill every year. Like
every year, I got to be honest, I'm like, why are we up here?
Yeah.
I mean, the first year we started going up there, it was phenomenal. There was big deer, you'd have multiple chances at different stalks. And just for what we've killed 2 deer in 6 years up there.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes it fun. But to me, it's like maybe there's another area we could go that would be a little more legitimate for us to go and spend more time in. I don't know. It makes it fun, as tough as it is.
Well, it feels good, right? Like Casey did
Yeah.
tag on a buck, a really nice one, a super old buck, probably one of the oldest deer I've ever seen as far as teeth go. Like this thing had no teeth.
Yeah.
But those hunts feel so good when you finally make it happen because you've been through so many lows. So that's really like I shot a 3-point up there too now, and that was just like I accomplished getting one here.
Yeah.
Now I want to get a big one here. I thought that would make me want to leave, and it just pushed me more to want to, hunt one of those older age class bucks. But fun place. We always had good company. This year we, had a few buddies up there tag out, which made it super cool. And it's just kind of a special spot anyways. But yeah, who knows? Maybe one of these years we got to move camp.
Yeah.
That hunt in general is cool just in the essence that it's the first one of the season. You're in rugged country at high elevation, like above 9,000 feet pretty consistently. And it just kicks off the whole fall season for being in good shape. Feel like when you're done with that hunt, you feel amazing. Specifically, like, cause we're doing a lot of work before it even starts, from scouting to just finding bivvy camps to you name it. And so even though it is super tough and we haven't had very good success, I still love that hunt because of those reasons. And you just never know. I agree that the first year was for sure the best, and it hasn't ever been the same. But you just have hope that maybe every year something's going to change, or we're going to finally like figure out the secret sauce, and we'll see if it ever happens. But it's still a fun hunt no matter what. And yeah, man, I think being able to we're super fortunate. Like living at higher elevation already has an advantage as you prepare for the season. We have mountains at our back door, all of us, that we can go hike to get prepared, where, it'd be super hard if you lived in the Midwest or the East. So our ability to acclimate to elevation, happens pretty fast. And then just, you spend like a week up there doing that, and your body adjusts pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. I love that part about just starting the year off.
Yep. Gets you right in shape to go chase elk in September. Oh, awkward silence. All right, next topic. What do you want to? We have a lot of questions, and for those of you who follow us on Instagram, we put up a couple polls and a couple posts, and got a ton of different feedback. So if you're not following us on Instagram, first go follow us at Get Hushin'. But BMAC, did you pull up some that?
Sure. I think this is a kind of a good one that a lot of people don't have an opportunity to hunt moose. So Casey, how many pounds of meat did you get off Braley's moose?
Oh man, I was trying to think of that. I posted it. I'd have to go back and look. It was roughly around like wet meat, like cut and wrapped, it was close to 500 pounds. It was a lot. Yeah. Which is funny because that was not a worry, but it was such a hot and dry year that I was a little nervous about hunting moose early, like in September, just, because it was basically me and Logan and Braley. We're going to be in charge of getting that thing off. But, we got it killed relatively super close to a trail, not far from the truck. But the thing was giant. A moose is a giant animal. It's a giant creature. Like what did we figure those quarters were, Logan?
I was thinking the hindquarters were right around like 95, 90.
Yeah, I would say a quarter was close to 100 pounds.
Yeah, it was right on that, 100-pound quarter mark, which is baffling. And it's just a number until you have that thing on your back and you're like, this is a big animal.
Yeah. But, it definitely filled the freezer up. But moose quickly became my family's favorite meat now, and we've been eating through it pretty quick.
Yeah,
so after tasty.
After we made those first burgers, I'm like, I'm glad they're this big.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of people tell me, my dad killed a moose when I was young, like when I was 8, and I remember eating it and thinking it was great, but I don't specifically remember like what it tasted like. I remember my mom telling me it was really good, and she doesn't love game meat, but I've had a lot of people before we killed it be like, oh, you better make a lot of jerky. I'm like, why? And they're like, it's got a sweet flavor to it, which I don't know what they're talking about, but it is probably our favorite meat now in the house.
It's good. Way good. Another question is, do we have any plans on making Hush Junior a series? So for anybody that maybe missed this, Gager and his buddy Zayden had an Idaho deer tag, and because of schedules and timing, what have you, Casey wasn't able to get back out there with him. And so what'd you end up doing?
So long story, I had to go get a new phone last year in September. Gage has been wanting a phone, and I'm pretty strict with my kids about technology and about social media. My daughter, who's 16, just barely got Instagram a few months ago. Anyways, Gage has been wanting a phone. And so when I went and got this phone, they were having some deal about 2 for 1 or whatever. So I got this phone in September, and I just like, when the day comes that Gage earns a phone, the phone will be here. It's paid for. Anyway, so yeah, like Brian said, we went out and we hunted 4 or 5 days, me and Gage and Zayden and Zayden's dad, Kevin. Didn't get it done. I left to go to New Mexico, and those guys were going to go back out. And I told Gage, I said, well, buddy, here's your phone. The reason you're getting this phone is this is going to be your job. Like, record everything. This is on you. You have to film this hunt. And so he did a phenomenal job. He captured, the Zayden's kill shot. He captured phone scope footage. And they were pretty thrilled. They actually have a bunch of other stuff they did that I didn't include, like cooking videos, stuff like that. But yeah, they're Gage, that's his dream, is to one day hopefully run Hush or be a part of Hush somehow. And so, I would love for those two to like have some part in it next year, like maybe do a series, just, like, hey, this is on you. I really want to teach Gage how to edit, and just let him run with it and be like, all right, you're going to film, you're going to edit, and see what they come up with. I think they could come up with some pretty great content.
That would be really cool to like do what they did last year, go on a hunt together, capture it, take it back home. You guys can help edit it together and literally launch the Hush Junior series.
It's just interesting to see like their perspective on filming, because he watches all of our videos. He watches us, how we cut things, but it's always fun to watch somebody else's perspective of like how they think it should go down or how it should look.
Yeah.
So we had another question that kind of parallels off that. When it comes to getting kids interested in hunting, what tips do you have? Because I know there's parents out there that would love for their kids to come out and hunt. Maybe they like eating the meat, but they're really not showing a whole lot of interest in actually hunting. So what advice would you have to parents that have kids that are kind of at that age of trying to get them out in the woods?
I would say for me, it's, every kid is different. You look at like even my family, like my older brother, not a hunter at all. Me, big time hunter. My little sister, not into it. Logan likes to dabble. No, but every kid's different. Every kid has different interests. What I've always said though is, in order to get your kids excited about actually hunting, just make it fun. Like hunting has to become secondary when you're out in the woods. It's about them having fun. If that means, skipping rocks, or if it's, doing whatever it is, just make sure they're having a good time when you're out. Because if it becomes this, like, we're hunting, we're going to hike, we're going to kill, most kids aren't going to enjoy that. But once they fall in love with the woods, then that's when hunting, I think, will come along.
I like it. Good advice. Yeah, I agree, man. It's easy. Like for all of us, we all had different entry points into hunting, but for me, like right out of the gate, it was something I was super interested in before I was ever even able to hunt. And I just couldn't wait till the day I could take hunter safety, get my card, and like go bird hunting with my dad. But I know there's a lot of kids that aren't as into it. Maybe that fun factor just isn't there for them. They don't have that. They're into other things. But I do think over time, there's a potential to get them interested in it without a lot of pressure. They try it out and they don't really love it. Maybe there'll be a gap in time where they're not super interested in it, but a year or two later, they may, develop a little bit of interest in getting back out there. So I think you got to just slow play it, take your time with your kids, and, little tiny pieces of fun mixed in on a camping trip, on a hunting trip, and just don't put too much pressure on them.
No, yeah. I think another thing that's hard to swallow, especially when you become a parent, is realizing that your kids might not be into everything that you're into. I was the same way. My dad will tell you the story to this day. Like, he would take me elk hunting when I was 8 years old. archery elk hunting, and we'd get after it for like a week. He would take me out of school for a week and take him elk hunting. And he would tells the story where, like, when we have to go home, I just sit and cry because I didn't want to go home. I just wanted to kill an elk so bad, or see him kill an elk so bad. But not every kid's going to be that way. And it's hard for a parent to realize that. But like you said, just make sure you're enjoying your time, because even like my kids, you know, Braylee, she's into hunting now, but I might lose her to it one day. You know, other things are going to become more important. So the way I look at it is like, while I'm with her in the woods right now, I'm going to enjoy it. And hopefully this lasts until I'm dead, but it might not. It just might not.
Yeah. Changing topics a little bit. So another question from Facebook. So aside from Onyx, how do you guys determine where to hunt, where you can try to avoid the crowds? This individual just moved into a new area and he's looking for some advice on how to approach finding a new spot. Eric, what do you got, dude? What are your tips, tactics on finding a new spot to hunt?
Well, over the years, for me, that's literally the easiest part for me has just been to go a little further, to look for a little terrain or canyons that's just off the beaten path. You know, some of my favorite spots are overlooked, whether that's just like how to get there, there's a little further to get in there. But man, starting from scratch, it really is just a game of scouting, getting high and covering as much ground as you can, and then kind of zeroing in on a spot. But starting with the big picture and then just chipping away at it, you know, one trip at a time, or just everything's going to eliminate, like, okay, I'm going to eliminate that spot just because it's just not, I haven't seen anything up there. And then you just start to like granulate it down to like, okay, I'm going to hunt here. And that starts with just having like a big open mind, and then narrowing it down slowly through scouting and, you know, e-scouting. I know he said without Onyx, but Onyx is a huge help, like big time. So yeah, it would be hard without Onyx, really. Like you just starting from scratch. It's literally just getting high and glassing. I know that sounds just like too simple, but that's the only place to start if you're not familiar with an area. Looking like
Casey,
paying attention to everything, like rubs, beds, tracks, droppings. How old are they? What time of the year does it look like that was from? And really narrowing it down. Again, taking the big picture, starting big, like, okay, whole unit. All right, where do I want to go in here? Well, I'm going to focus on the north part of the unit. All right, now you've cut it in half. And then from there, it's just chipping it away at it one step at a time, everything from scouting to boots on the ground.
My advice would be, like, even taking a step back from what Eric's talking about. Eric's talking about more specific, like, I believe, spots inside of a unit. But moving into a new area, what I would do, or what I would recommend, is look at the ability or the availability of tags, right? I want to find a unit that I can hunt every year, because maybe the first year you hunt it, it's just going to be about learning it. But if you can find a unit that you can hunt every year, like an over-the-counter tag, by year maybe number 5, maybe you've gone through some tough years, but you're going to have some good years because you're going to get to know it better. Like, we have a phrase that says, we always say the last day is better than the first day. And that's because we have more experience the last day than we did the first day. And I would say that even about years, you know, year 5 is going to be better than year 1 because you're going to know it. But find an area that you can go and hunt every year and learn it.
I like
Logue,
it.
what do you think, Logie Bear? Huh?
Hunt with people that are a lot better than you at it and use their spots.
Best answer yet.
That's the secret sauce right there. No, I would say I really like what Eric said, actually. I mean, that's how you should approach a lot of things in life when you're learning something new. Look at it in a big picture and then maybe kind of formulate it to your own plan. Hunt the areas that are accessible to you, that you think that are going to be the best, and then look at the history of that land. Get boots on the ground and actually look for sign. Try to find out what animals are there, what they're doing, when they're there. And then, of course, you guys know I love trail cameras. Spread those things out. Dial it in.
Very helpful tool. For sure.
Here'd be my advice. You can do a lot of research online to find out information about a particular unit or species. So you can start there. It takes time and it takes effort, but there's a lot of information available. It'll help you just gain a better understanding of where you're considering hunting. I think a second piece of advice would be develop plans A through Z. And what I mean by that is you may go into one particular spot and realize that it is overrun with people or camps. Maybe there's no animals there in that particular spot you had identified. So have a bunch of options. And once you have the chance to get boots on the ground and out in that particular area, you can kind of check them off. If you go to spot A, nothing's happening, move to spot B, move to spot C, move to spot D. Eventually you're going to find a zone that has the animals, doesn't have the crowds, and then you can do things like Eric had mentioned, which is just observing. I think observation hunts with the intent that you're really trying to just see what's happening. You have your weapon of choice with you in the event that something falls in your lap, but your main goal is just to really observe. That could be largely glassing. You could take that in any species, whether that be whitetail, mule deer, elk, doesn't really matter. But observation hunts are fantastic because you can really understand what's going on in that area. And does it make sense to continue to invest your time in it? But again, I think being nimble is very important when you're trying to learn a new area, and just be willing to bounce around. And eventually you're going to put the pieces of the puzzle together that are going to give you that opportunity to get in there and actually start hunting. I think it's scouting. If you don't have time to scout ahead of time, extend your trip a couple days if you can, and almost consider the first few days of your hunt as your scouting component of it, doing those observation sits. I think those are more valuable, frankly, than just going in blind and trying to hunt exclusively. So that would be my suggestion on trying to find a new area to hunt.
Good information, boys.
Kind of tease up for 2021 application strategy. What's our strategy for trying to gain tags?
Apply.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
honestly, people are like, how do you guys get so many tags every year? And I want to ask them, how many states are you applying for? Because I don't know, the countless hours we put into of researching other states and then actually applying. I spent 2 hours last night of putting me engaged in for the Utah tags. But it's you have a better odds of getting a tag if you're all applying in more states. So, I mean, yeah.
So real quick, opportunity tags, right? Or quality tags, which would probably be considered your limited entry, more difficult to draw. What's the balance that we're looking for, or that we typically go after? How many states do we apply for? Let's cover some of those topics that I think a few people would be interested in.
I go back and forth. Eric has a phrase. He just wants an opportunity, right? You just want a tag. And so it's Utah, and I think it depends on what state you're looking at. Utah's always kind of been that state for me. It was all right, I know it's going to take me X amount of years to draw a tag. But that's going to be my state that when I draw a tag, it's going to be that phenomenal tag. Well, that changes every year. Last year, I remember I held out I put in for all the best tags that I probably weren't going to draw. Last night, I was like, give me the tags. Because I have 10 points across the board for everything in Utah besides elk, and I only have 7. But as a non-resident, I can put in for everything and gain points. So in my eyes, I was looking at it okay, I'm going to put in for everything's a draw, obviously, but I'm going to put in for some lesser tags in hopes that I just get a tag.
More in this instance, you're going for more opportunity.
More right? Opportunity than quality.
What could be some reasonable draw odds that you engage could actually have a tag in hand for 2021?
For Utah, I mean, they're still not great.
Yeah.
They're still not guaranteed. I don't
think you need to get into specifics, but I think the key part here is understanding that every state is different, right?
Yeah.
So there's some states that have much better over-the-counter opportunities for non-residents. There's, for even us, Casey and Logan have residency in Idaho, so their potential to get tags is so much greater than, what Eric and I can do, especially now that Idaho has changed the non-resident tag allocation. It's making things more challenging to get a tag. If you're a Wyoming resident, you have tons of opportunity. If you're a Montana resident, so much opportunity within your own state. But for those that are looking to start applying in different states, every system is different. Some are preference points, some are bonus points. Some don't have a point system, which I think are the most idealistic. New Mexico does not have a point system. Alaska, no point system.
Idaho, no point system.
Those are pretty ideal. Now, a highly desired tag is still going to be very low percentage odds of drawing. But the cool thing is everybody's on an even playing field versus you look at a place like Utah, there are legitimately hunts that if you start applying for now, and even those of us that have points are probably never going to draw the tag because of point creep, which means just like if last year that tag took 10 points, more than likely this year it could take 11 or 12 points. And it just has to do with how many people are, putting in for points and then either applying or not applying. A lot of guys are just building points. So they've got years and years of points. And so much of it is just timing, right? Like if you're an older person and you got in initially, you could have what's considered maximum points. So in the state of Utah, max points might be 24. So if you had 24 points, you could theoretically draw any tag for any species. But a lot of people don't get in right away. Particularly anybody new into hunting or younger, they're going to be starting out with 0 points. And so trying to get from 0 to max points or even to a point number that you could draw one of these limited entry tags that Casey's talking about is not what would be considered easy. So I think, the challenge we all face is A, applying to a lot of states, B, just I look at a lot of these limited entry tags is almost like my retirement plan. I don't have any intention of being able to draw in the next 3 to 5 years, but at some point in time, when I am an older individual, there should be a couple great tags that I can pull. And that's kind of like set it and forget it. Now it is an investment in your money because a lot of them you have to put forth a non-refundable hunting license and you have to put forth an application fee, but you're just banking on the fact that eventually at some point in time, you'll be able to get a tag. So as you all are learning different things about putting in for Western hunts, I think it's just, you have to put in the time and do the research to figure out that blend of opportunity versus time. Do I want to wait for a quote unquote great tag, or would I rather just have a tag and hunt? And I think for me, it just depends on the state and how many points I'm already in with, right? If I'm on the verge of some good tags, then I'll probably ride that out. But man, moving forward, I just want to hunt, honestly.
Yeah, it can be really intimidating getting started in applying in different states because a lot of people feel like they just don't know where to start. And for me, years ago, not long ago, really, all I did was get a Utah tag for deer and sometimes a Utah elk tag. And I'm still learning the process. It's become a lot easier because it's mostly done through the internet now, where it used to be paper applications. And that was really just a lot of work. And if you didn't know what you were doing, it was pretty easy just to make a mistake. But for anyone who wants to apply in new states, it's literally just sitting down on your computer, doing a little bit of research. Obviously, you have to learn units and stuff like that. But as far as the process, it's streamlined. If you can get online and use social media, you can get online and apply for an out-of-state tag. But like BMAC said, some states there's upfront money that you don't get refunded, and some states will actually take the full amount of the tag. And so for me growing up, I didn't apply out of state because a lot of states, even back then, more so then than now, they would take the cost of the tag and sit on it until the draw results came out. And I just simply didn't have money to bank on. So yeah, for me, I'm more of an opportunity guy. Even if I miss application season, I'm like, oh, dang it, I missed. Oh, I totally missed. But I know there's a handful of states that I can get general season tags and still go and have opportunity. So yeah, I guess it's kind of like scouting for a new unit. It's almost a bigger picture. All right, I want to go west. Well, which state? Trim that down to which state, and then learn that application process. Learn those units that you want to put in for. And it all depends on, do you want to bank and getting a tag down the road, or do you just want to tag this year?
Yeah, I think that's what it should come down to is, be strategic. If you only have the money to put in for one state, so Idaho, it's kind of a catch-22, like Brian said. Idaho, everyone is on the same playing field. Even if I've been applying for 35 years and you jump in this year, and resident, non-resident's a little different, but you still have same opportunity. You could draw a tag the first year you put in. But at the same time, you could go 20 years and put in for Idaho, never draw a tag, and you have nothing to show for it compared to if you do that in Utah, you build points every year. But I'd also look at it as if you only have one state that you can apply for, but you want to hunt every year, find a state that if you don't draw, since you have to buy the hunting license anyways, if you don't draw, you can go out and hunt an over-the-counter tag, right? So I know like Utah, if you put in for the draws and you don't draw, you can't go out and buy a deer tag anymore because that's a draw. You could go buy an over-the-counter elk tag, correct?
I mean, it's considered over the counter. Yeah. They'll like it goes up, in sometime in June or July, but they're pretty quick.
Yeah. But like Idaho, if you don't draw a tag, you have that license, you can go and get an over-the-counter deer tag every year. So if that's, if you're looking to hunt every year, just be strategic about it, I guess.
Yeah. Just narrow it down to what state first.
Yeah.
Or the route that I would prefer to go now is an application service do it for you. So that's where I'm at. Because today, like 2 days ago, I was texting BMAC and Casey. I'm like, guys, what applications are open right now? I'm kind of like out of the loop. And I think today Wyoming ends. So hopefully I get off this phone call and
Wyoming ends for elk today.
Yeah. At a certain time or hopefully at night. Because I'd like to apply. But anyways, there's tag services too. If you don't want to work, you could literally just tell someone, hey, I'm looking to hunt, and they'll do it for you.
Yeah, for those watching this, the application period will have been closed by the time this podcast gets launched. So sorry for missing that. But listen, they're all listed. There's places to find it. But overall, for us, our realistic strategies, we're going to try to apply for as many, states as we can. It's going to be a blend of opportunity tags and limited entry, harder to draw tags, largely determined by how many points we have in that particular draw. As we accumulate more points, we're probably going to target some of those more difficult tags versus some states where we maybe only have, a point here or there. We're probably going to try to identify those opportunity tags that we could potentially get. And you can find a lot of those just by digging around and doing research. And I think, again, Casey said he spent a couple hours last night. Putting in the effort is where you find some of those hidden little gem tags that, other folks may not be aware of.
Yeah,
is there any specific hunt for 2021 you think we should that you guys are maybe optimistic about drawing or
not drawing? No, I don't. I just don't have enough points anywhere.
I mean, yeah, I've had years in the past where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get that tag for sure. And it just doesn't happen. I mean, yeah, I hope to draw a tag or two here and there, but don't ever really count on it. A lot of the general season stuff. Another option too is a lot of states offer a landowner tag, which, New Mexico is really good at because it's called a landowner tag, but if you buy the right one, it's a unit wide tag. So you buy it through a landowner, but you can hunt the whole unit. And sometimes you can get pretty good deals on them whereas, it might take, New Mexico doesn't have any points, but I bought a tag last year in a unit that I put in for a long time and never drawn it. And this tag came up. And so, I had the money and I wanted to hunt that unit. So that's another option too. Like New Mexico's really good at it. Colorado's got some great tags. So that's another option for you. If you don't draw a tag, and you have some money. That's another thing you could go try to do.
And some of the tags are quite reasonable.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, you'd be surprised. Again, like anything, it takes some digging and it takes some research, but those are all viable. I know Nevada has some options. Utah has some options. Some Western states don't have that as an option. Your only ability to draw a tag as a non-resident is to put in and apply. But that is just one other component for trying to, get a tag in hand. And we're pretty open to all avenues, just trying to acquire some stuff that, will work and make sense. But hopefully we'll get lucky. There's a handful of states where even though you don't have the maximum amount of points, you can still draw a tag. Mm-hmm. Every year you have that potential to get that email that just said, hey, you beat the odds, congratulations. It doesn't happen because your percentage of drawing those are low, but one day we're going to have that email come through that's like, yes, you beat it. You won the lottery. You got this tag that you shouldn't have gotten.
That's my
gonna
daughter.
happen.
That's been my daughter the last 2 years.
Yeah, no,
Legitimately.
that's happened once for me. New Mexico, first time I'm flying out of state, drew a good tag.
Yep.
Other
That was
than
about the last year we've drawn a tag in New Mexico. Was that tag you drew?
Yes. Another question, Logan. What kind of recommendations or advice do you have for people trying to document and film their hunts?
What I would have to say is don't go out and spend a bunch of money on gear. I would say if you're just barely getting into it, the best camera advice would be the camera that you already have. A lot of our phones these days do just great. Hop on your phone and just start recording. Just start somewhere, start filming, and just start working on cutting on there's a lot of free software offered out there. Just don't get yourself into a big money pit and figure out you don't want to do it. The best gear you can get is the gear you already have and the gear that you know. And then as you get into it, maybe just film one hunt on your phone, and it might not even be your hunt. Film a friend's hunt on your phone, cut it up when you get home. And if you like that process, then maybe start looking at some of these lower end budget friendly cameras and get into it that way. But I would say do your research. The biggest tool for me, and I learn new stuff every day, I would say, is just hop onto YouTube. Get your raw footage from your phone, or maybe you already have a camera, and just hop into an editing software. And then if each problem you run into, write it down. And then when you have time, research those problems. And before you know it, you can learn so fast, and the education is free. So that's what I would say. Just start now. Don't go out and buy a bunch of gear that you may not use what you have right now and get into it that way.
That's the whole thing. I feel like people always want to be like, is it hard? Is it not hard? I mean, it could be as hard as you want it to be, but really, like majority of people that want to start doing it have a phone, and that's where you can start. You can literally shoot and edit a hunt from your phone. I've said that. I think one day, like, these things are going to be so technically advanced that you're going to be able to capture some, and they are, but like literally shoot and edit everything off our phones.
Yeah, when I very, very first started, that's really what I did. I mean, my parents had a camera lying around the house, and I got into playing with that. And then I found out that my computer had a editing software, and I just started kind of dinking around on there. I know if you want to kind of approach it that way, you can do that. If you want to maybe put a little money into it up front, hop on Adobe. They have suites of tutorials how to use their software. You can get free trials. Google free trial for Final Cut. If you want to get into Final Cut, you'll find them. They're everywhere, maybe 10 days, maybe 30 days. But it's a way to start without making a giant investment. And like I said, if you run into problems, just write them down and then just try to knock that list out when you got time. How do I make this cut? How do I do this? How do I do that? And that's kind of something I want to get into a little later, because I feel like a lot of people do ask me that. How do I start? Like, what's the best route to approach this? And I would say just start filming now. And then when you get time, use a free software or a cheaper software and, start plugging out.
I think there's a couple of things too to tie into that is getting going. SD cards are not that much of an investment if you're using a camera, right? So you can spend a few dollars and have a tremendous amount of space. And I think when you're in the field, the key is to film as much as possible. You can always take away, but you can never go back and add those moments. I think people starting out have a tendency to cut the clips really short, or they just don't film enough stuff. If you're trying to tell a story, more is better. And then in the post-production editing process, you can trim it down to get you to the best stuff. But biggest key is just hit record and do it often. And you'll have much more material to work with as you're trying to put together your first stuff. But definitely some good advice there. Eric, what do you think on any other things you'd add into that?
Yeah, it's whenever anyone asks me that, I always come back right away with the first question is like, well, what's the goal of capturing it? Like, why do you want to make videos? Is that intended to be on social media? Is that intended to be just something you want to have within your family? But I usually start there, and then that gets me like going in all the different directions on how to get started. But more than anything, it's just getting used to pulling out the camera and recording, because a lot of people, like the biggest thing people come back after filming a hunt is like, yeah, I thought I had all this great footage, and when I got home, I didn't have enough. So like BMAC said, keep the camera rolling, and just remember that a lot of things you may think even to yourself, that is like not worthy of filming or is stupid to you, you will always appreciate it later. You will always be happy you pulled out the camera and recorded that little thing or that conversation between you and your buddies or a reaction. So you can definitely never have too much.
Yeah, the phrase "less is more" definitely doesn't apply to filming.
Yeah, more is better.
More is more.
So I guess, to go in true detail, I'd really want to know like what is the goal of filming, but for the most part, it's just getting started, not overthinking it. Just start.
I think 100% just start recording, have fun with it.
Yeah.
The best two advices I could give.
Logan, for those that are maybe a little bit more intermediate to advanced, what is the kind of camera setup and editing setup that we're using right now?
So currently I'm running an A7R3. Last year I ran a monopod. It was a Cobra 2. If you're going to run a monopod, I strongly recommend the Cobra 2 because it's a mini tripod, a monopod. There's the most user-friendly, tactile piece of gear from last year was that monopod for me. Camera body wise, we use an A7R3. I think personally right now is the best in the game that you can get. The A7S3 came out recently, but that's more of a video directed camera. You get a little bit better quality with the video, but it really lacks in the photography aspect. So the A7R3 is the best of both worlds, where the still imagery you'll get is comparable to some of the best you can do. And the other thing you have to realize too is if you're uploading to YouTube, there's a reduction in quality, just like Instagram. You don't need a 4K Red Panda to film YouTube videos. You really don't.
What about Eric? I know your go-to is maybe a little bit on yourself filming, right?
One thing I've learned over the years is I love to video and capture storytelling. But I'm not into the techie side of things like you guys, or more so like Logan, like with all the different settings, manual settings, and really getting creative. I just like to capture. So for me, for anybody who is looking to start or is curious, this is all I use. Let me put it up against my body. Canon G7X, and it was designed to be like a vlog camera. A lot of people ask what this is. This is a wind mic just to help reduce wind sounds like in the wind. But this fits in my pocket on my cargo pants, my First Light pants, and also fits in the hip pocket of my backpack. And for me, I have found if it's easy, small, lightweight, and easy to get to, I film 10 times more. The times I've had the bigger cameras, which we do have some attachments right here to get the big DSLR cameras, and I need to get reset up on that. But I found if I had a camera that was so big that it needed to go in my backpack, I just simply didn't get it out for a lot of those little shots that could eventually, in my opinion, kind of be helpful to tell the story. So we do run a variety of cameras, but that's what I have found I use most of the time when I'm by myself.
Yeah, I think you add in, so you got the Sony A7R3 as our main kind of DSL that Logan and Martin and any of our folks are going to be running. Then you have the Canon G7X series for kind of self-filming or vlogging. And then we also utilize the GoPro quite often.
This is
the
kind of
new 9 has been amazing.
It's kind of in between. This is 6500. It's kind of in between the camera Logan runs and the camera that Eric just showed you. But yeah, I think it's just like GoPro, like with Heracley in Colorado this year. We hunted with the guy, Lake Work guy. You guys probably know him. He just used the GoPro 9, and it was phenomenal. It had some great audio, great video. Like, just get what you can afford, and you will learn on that. That's what I would suggest. Just get what you can afford and go from there.
Yeah, the newer GoPro that just came out, the 9, is a great option for. I think if not this GoPro, but the next GoPro is definitely going to take over the point and shoot because of the versatility of it. They fixed a lot of the issues with wind noise reduction, microphone quality, and now it even has a front screen to vlog with. So if you're going to get into a camera, it's a cheaper price point, and it's a great place to start because of the versatility. It's waterproof. The audio is great. it's a great starting camera for taking in the field, and it'll stand up to a lot of the stuff that happens in the field.
What camera would you suggest using, Logan, if you wanted to do like some underwater saltwater filming? Like
GoPro 9.
GoPro 9, not the A7R. Okay.
It's definitely more versatile that way.
He gets wound up when we start talking about him losing mics to the various water bodies that we've participated in or around.
That's another time when Brian will shame you is if you dunk a camera.
If you dunk a $4,000 camera, you might get a little shame.
Definitely shame Logan on that one for sure.
Hey, I'm telling you right now, anybody that can take a camera of that quality in 3 years in the woods, pretty decent. Some of the stuff we go through, I'm surprised it lasted that long.
We got a couple other questions we'll get through here. Unbiased broadhead options and experience. What are your opinions on broadheads? This is like, to me, broadheads are a lot like boots or calibers of rifles, right? Like literally every person you ask, we're going to tell you something different. I don't think there's like a right or a wrong answer here.
Yeah, I'll start. And just keep in mind, like we sometimes have to use different broadheads depending on the state requirements. I've had really, really good luck with the 4-blade slick tricks, fixed blades. And I've also shot a good handful of deer with mechanical heads, mostly the Sever broadhead. And the only thing I can really say, like I can actually really like look at this situation and say is I've had 2 shot opportunities, one on a bull elk and one on a bear, both with mechanical broadheads that simply did not penetrate the chest cavity because they rode the rib cage. And again, I'm never going to be that guy that's like, I know if I had a fix, it would have just blown through it and crushed everything. I can't say I know that, but I can tell you guys, I've had 2 quartering away shots, like perfect angles, where a mechanical just simply hit the bone, the rib cage, and went into the armpit, never entered the chest cavity. One is just clear as day on video, the bear that was never recovered because I know he didn't die. 2 was on an elk in New Mexico with Casey, where the first shot was the kill shot, but I did do a follow-up shot, which was the one that rode the rib cage and went under the armpit. So I actually got to peel back the hide, see the situation, and confirm without a doubt, not only was it a perfect angle, it just right under the armpit. So I don't know. I just don't critique stuff because I can't say without a doubt that it would have happened with something different, but I've had good luck with the slick tricks. I've killed a good handful of deer, axis deer, whitetail, with the Sever broadhead. So that's my experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, phrases, don't ever blame your equipment. But I if it was up to me, if I could only shoot one broadhead, no matter where, and for whatever animal, it would be a fixed blade for 4-blade fixed. Is that how you say it? And yeah, slick trick is kind of what I've been my go-to for years. So
yeah, for the record, we have no affiliation with Slick Trick whatsoever, but we have all successfully used them. I know I've had luck with the G5 Strikers in the past. I like the broadhead I'm shooting now. It's a Valkyrie, heavier, grained fixed blade, kind of just whatever you have confidence in, I think is important too. I think it's super valuable to spend more time shooting your broadheads throughout the off season, just so again, you can feel 100% confident that, whatever the distance is, or maybe the angle of the shot, you're going to be able to perform. And it's something, that's kind of an experimental process. I think part of the fun, a little bit of archery, is mess around with different stuff. And certainly we've tried a lot of them, but ultimately, yeah, like I think a fixed blade is hard to beat personally, and just find something that you feel comfortable with and that your bow's, performing well. If you do find yourself in a situation where your broadheads are shooting different than your field tip points, it's likely like your bow tune is probably not as good as it could be. You might need to adjust the timing of your rest or something along those lines. But, these days bows are pretty dang dialed. And if you have it tuned up, your broadhead should be shooting pretty dang consistent with your field tip points. But that's a good one. What are your thoughts on the Arizona over-the-counter deer hunts? We've done a few of them. Any specific thoughts on those?
First word is opportunity. I mean, for
Yeah.
anyone who's looking for a chance to, whether you're resident or non-resident, but to travel somewhere to hunt mule deer or even coos deer in some units during the rut, that's your opportunity hunt right there. I haven't focused on it so much, mostly because like typically by when December rolls around, I kind of check out. Like people think like, you guys have dream jobs. I'd hunt every second. Trust me, we hunt a lot, but because we do get a hunt a lot, there's a point in December where I'm like, I check out. Like hunting season for me is over. I'll still take advantage of any opportunity we get, whether it's axis deer here and there or something. But I'm kind of checked out by December, not super stoked to go bow hunt. But it also would eliminate my opportunity or anyone else's opportunity to shoot a deer in their rifle seasons. And I do like the coos deer hunts I've been doing in early December, because that's another period of time where I can extend my season by going on a December rifle coos deer hunt. And I've enjoyed that, and I've been able to take a couple coos deer. So maybe eventually I will look in more into the Arizona hunt. But first word, opportunity, great opportunity. A lot of public land, a lot of country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Eric. Like, we're go for 3.5, 4 months pretty hard, and then by the time December rolls around, I don't want to be in the woods that much. But yeah, I was trying to explain this to somebody else the other day that they asked about it, and I started explaining it, and I'm like, why aren't we doing this? Because there's nothing else really going on in December, January. The deer are rutting, and it's what we always talk about. It's a hunt you could do every year, and there's legitimately some giant bucks you could kill on public land. I am surprised it hasn't, and I think it will one of these days, but I'm surprised it isn't more popular, over-the-counter Arizona deer tag.
I think that year started this year with COVID and more people being available, to hunt, work from home, i.e. I'm going to go camp and hunt and work from my computer. I think it picked up popularity for sure. It's one of those units, in my opinion, that you're already in for Arizona application, which is coming up on February 9th for non-resident elk and pronghorn. You have to buy a non-refundable hunting license. So you already have that in your pocket if you're applying for other species. And then you add on a couple $100 deer tag. I think it's like $300 or $400. And yeah, you're hunting in a time of year that historically is not a lot going on. There is a lot of country, north to south, east to west, that is available to hunt that tag, which is cool. You can be in the desert chasing bucks in the swirl cactus to the higher kind of, high desert country down to crazy coos country along the border. Like there's so many variables that make it a pretty fun hunt. And to Casey's point, there's some great quality animals, both coos deer and mule deer, that you could get into. It's interesting. The state of Arizona put a big effort on trying to gain popularity for that tag, which is largely why it's increased, is because they realized that not only could you hunt coos deer and mule deer on this over-the-counter opportunity, but you also had like a wide variety of small game. There's the chance to get some javelina tags if you apply, and or have some units that have leftover tags. You've got a bunch of bird hunting available. You've got rabbit hunting. You got the Quadamundi, which is a weird little creature. There's all kinds of cool stuff that Arizona offers, making it pretty desirable, no doubt. So certainly worth it. I do think you're going to deal with some folks out there enjoying the land just like we all would, but I do also think there's enough country that you can kind of find a little spot that would produce some opportunities for you.
For sure.
Well, gentlemen, what other topics do we want to cover wrapping up BSY 3.0? I think it goes without saying, but we cannot thank all of you guys who have tuned in, who have watched, who have commented, maybe shared it with a friend, purchased something from our website. I mean, we try to always like pause and reflect on how fortunate we are to be able to do this. So thank you guys for the continued support. We really do feel tremendously lucky to be able to do this. And the idea that folks would tune in and watch our videos or buy a hat or a t-shirt to this day still, I think, is kind of one that's hard to get our arms around. But anyways, thank you guys for the continued support over the last few years. I know we're super optimistic and excited for the upcoming season, but is there anything else that sticks out for you guys that we ought to cover?
Well, just kind of adding to your point, Brian talked about it earlier, but we've kind of changed this thing since we decided to start filming it this way. And this all stemmed from, what year was it when we did our first semi-live hunt in Colorado? It was like 15?
2015.
So 2015, if you guys haven't seen, we had this idea to try to do this like semi-live hunt where we would go out and we'd hunt one day, go back to the hotel that night, cut that footage up and put it up, the video on YouTube the next day. So it was like you guys were kind of there with us live, maybe just a day late. And that's kind of where the best season yet 1.0 came on. Like, let's just shoot it as an everyday series for the whole hunting season. And it's kind of evolved for the last 3 years. But I would like to ask you guys your feedback. Like, if you've watched the last 3 seasons, or even just watched best season yet 3.0, what would you guys like to see different? Like, what are some things that you think we could do better at, or maybe don't do this or don't do that? Let us know. We love your feedback. We want to keep you guys entertained. We want to keep you guys coming back. So let us know what your thoughts and opinions are.
Yeah. And then again, just want to say thanks to everyone who supports us. It blows my mind, the emails that we receive through our service email, the DMs that are on the back end, and just the kind words and support that everyone gives us. So thank you, everybody. Literally, we are living our best life, living our dream. And it's really created a community of people that are like-minded and love the hush life. Like, a lot of people tell me that they use that word so much, like the hush life. I love that. Like, they're like, yeah, it's all about the hush life, which means, like, they get it. They're like, it means getting out, it means being with your friends and family, going hunting, going fishing, and giving back. And one thing I'd like to just kind of wrap up is, people were asking about some of the conservation efforts that we have moving forward. We have a few big projects that we're going to be getting into in 21 that we will share, document, and hopefully be able to invite some of you guys out to help us with. And another comment was a lot of people asking, what will the videos be moving forward? So outside of the best season yet, the rest of the year, we kind of get a mixed bag, which I think is fun, because a lot of us, or all of us, enjoy a little bit of different things, but we want to get out and do some shed hunting trips. Of course, the shed tour will be kicking off the spring, which will be starting shortly. Fishing videos have already been captured and edited, and then cooking videos, those random trips we get here and there to like Texas or Hawaii. So you'll get a kind of a mixed bag. But again, like Casey said, if you have ideas or you want to see some things, let us know in the comment section. Yeah,
for sure. And our goal is to try to do a few more of these kind of like video podcast deals. We've not been super consistent, largely because we've been gone. But now that it's a little slower, and unfortunately this year with COVID, we do not have the Western Hunt Expo that normally happens in Salt Lake. We do not have the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show that we're going to attend this year. So we've got a little more time on our hands. We're going to try to do more of these. A few questions of like, hey, when's the gear list coming out for Alaska? The cost breakdown. Logan and I will definitely be doing a podcast with Garrett and Corey from Alaska. Probably have maybe Dylan join us too, and just do a recap of logistics, operations, budgeting, gear, all the things that we never really had a chance to touch on with the video series. Definitely expect that. And if you have other ideas for podcasts where we can kind of have a longer form talking session, certainly open to that as well. But we're super pumped. Hopefully got some turkey hunt maybe coming up, maybe some spring bear coming up in the near future. But yeah, like a nice hodgepodge of stuff until we lead back up to kind of our big fall project. Normally that's been best season yet 1, 2, and 3. I think this year is going to change a little bit. We alluded to it at the beginning of this get together, this round table. But we're really excited about the potential to do more hunts together, and kind of the framework of what we've been discussing for how the series will lay out. We don't know what we're going to call it yet. Don't know what tags we're going to have, but we have a fairly good foundation kind of laid out of what we want to do. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be here before we know it. I think as much as these months are a little slow, before you know it, we're going to be going on our first hunt. We'll be here fast.
Yeah. Logan, any final
True
thoughts?
that.
Just can't thank you guys enough. I mean, like what Brian was saying with the expos kind of shut down this year it's always nice going to those, being able to meet you guys face to face at the end of the year and hearing your feedback. But, you know, praise the internet, praise the comment section, praise the DMs. We love hearing from you guys. Didn't get to see you this year. If you're new, if you found us on BSY3 and it's your first time watching, stick along because we don't have any plans of slowing down. So just want to thank you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually ran into a guy at the grocery store yesterday. He had a Hush hat on. We started talking, and he was pretty bummed that him and his brother had plans to come down and see us this year at the expo. It would have been their first time, and it's as nice as it has been for us not having to get ready for that and for the Portland show, which is, you know, a ton of work. We are bummed. Like, we love meeting you guys. We love meeting the people that support us and that allow us to do what we do. So, you know, unfortunately, it's not going to happen this year, but hopefully in 2022, we will get to meet you guys all again, and things will be back to normal. But yeah, we can't thank you guys enough for everything you do for us.
Yeah, man. So here's the deal. If you haven't participated in our VIP text group yet, make sure you join today. All you have to do is text the one word, Hush VIP, and you will text that to the number 29071. If you're already a part of it, you know the benefits of it. We do a lot of giveaways, no purchase necessary, and share a lot of information, whether it's new content, new merchandise, news, giveaways, you name it. So jump onto that. And then we do have plans to do another larger sweepstakes coming up sometime this spring. So more will be shared in the near future, but you'll definitely want to participate in that. It's a pretty cool one that we're just working out the fine-tuned details on. But join our text list and stay up to date with all the good things. Appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you on the next podcast.
See you guys.
See ya.